Good. All right. Welcome everyone to the Tiburon Post meeting. Guess we will call to order and do a roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Chair Moon,
Present.
Vice Chair Ghaffari,
Present.
Commissioner Holmbrook,
Here.
Commissioner Burr,
Here.
and Commissioner Judge is absent so far. She'll be joining us later.
Great. Is this the time where we have public comment on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. So at this time, we will call forward anyone who has any comments they would like to make on items that are not on the agenda today. Anybody in the room? Anybody online?
None online.
Okay. So move on. Staff briefing. Is there anything particular? No.
Nothing
Okay.
on our end.
So let's go to the minutes. Do we have someone that would like to move to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Not on.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Great.
I'll take a roll on that. Public comment on the minutes.
Nope.
I see none online. Okay. I'll take roll. Chair Moon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ghaffari,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Burr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Judge is absent.
Great. So let's move on to action items. A1, the Heritage and Arts Commission art installation. There are some people that will be doing a presentation on this topic, and we'll ask them to come forward to present. Thank you.
Hello? Yes. Well, thank you, Commissioners Post. My name is Arjun Gupta. I'm the chair of the Heritage and Arts Commission, and this is our vice chair, Liz Feibush. And we are very happy to be here today to give you a quick walkthrough on a potential public art project that we've been working on for a number of months with a LA-based artist, Scott Froschauer. Scott came up here, about couple months ago? Yeah, about 2 months ago. And we spent a day visiting your wonderful parks. And I even discovered parks that I never knew existed here in town, which was really quite exciting. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the proposal, but we're here to answer any questions and quickly walk you through the proposal. This proposal we actually put together. It's a kind of a condensed version of what Mr. Froschauer had given to us, and we've been through a number of iterations with him, including quite a lot of discussion around where the works would be placed and what that would entail. And but I think you'll see we've come out with a gentle solution that is, again, a temporary public art project for about 6 months. So I'm going to walk you through it, and feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. The name of the project is Word on the Street, and this is a little bit about Scott. He's quite a well-known artist, and he does a number of large installations as well as smaller scale ones, and this is one of his smaller scale installations involving a kind of reconfigured street signs, and you'll see the meaning behind his work in a minute, but I'm going to keep forging ahead here. Maybe we can, is there a way to kind of scroll? Yeah. So this is sort of his statement about the signs themselves, about word on the street. And I mean, I have a background in art history, so I'll tell you, my reading of his work is that he kind of plays with signs and semiotics and meanings, but he's using day-to-day visual cues, that is road signs, with uplifting and positive messaging behind them. And as you can see, I'll just quote what he has to say here. I like to imagine that people might walk past a sign and assume that it is just a typical mundane warning until that moment that they realize that it is just a typical mundane warning, until that moment they recognize it as out of the ordinary. Hopefully that moment might lead viewers to wonder if other pieces might be hidden anywhere in their daily lives. In this way, the work aims to change how the viewer interacts with the world at large. So this is about word on the street, 6-month duration. It replaces traditional warning signs or directional signs. They're not just warning signs. With positive affirmations using authentic DOT specification materials and street sign design. And you'll see at the end, there's an appendix at the end of this presentation, which has a list of a number of cities across the country in Canada and where he has successfully placed both temporary and permanent versions of this installation. And these are the sort of the kind of the interactive nature here involves not only the street signs, and you can see there's a kind of a collage of signs from different places. I think most of these are actually from Burning Man, probably. But in conjunction with this, and this is something that I'm excited about, and I think Post, could work with Heritage and Arts on. There is a QR code component here. So the signs all have a QR code, which leads to a map. And clearly the map would be there to highlight the public spaces under Post's purview. And there's a kind of a, sort of a treasure hunt type aspect to this that is kind of interesting. And I think there's a possibility that it would draw people from all over the Bay Area to come and explore the parks and find the signs. You may recall a number of years ago, the Presidio in San Francisco had an installation of some very big name artists where they placed their works. Some of them were earthworks, like Andy Goldsworthy, I think, had a piece there. Ai Weiwei had a piece, a number of blue and white porcelain pieces tucked into trees. And that was a really cool installation that I think stayed for over a year, maybe even, I'm not sure. But, the idea is that we, draw attention to some of these parks that people do not know here in Tiburon. There's, I think, 2 or 3 in the proposal specifically. Promotes community exploration, generates social media engagement, just as we did with the Thomas Jackson installation a couple of years ago. It blew up on Instagram, on social media, and drew a lot of attention to the town, to the parks, and to the artwork, of course. And it's a family-friendly activity that connects different areas of town. This is the first park. This is kind of an easy one, Zielinski Park, towards the back of the oval there next to the green space. So it's out of the way. It doesn't interfere with any use of Zielinski Park itself. And you can see, and again, everything here is somewhat provisional in that, if there's signage that you feel is not appropriate or could be difficult for Post and, for the parks themselves, we can always find alternatives for that language and those signs as well. But The next one is here at McKegney. There's a number here at McKegney. Two along the path there that kind of joins McKegney to south of Knoll. And then there's three here at south of Knoll Park as well. Two along the path and one kind of, where Thomas Jackson had his large array in the center of the park, but also visible from the bike path as well. But well off the bike path. Then we get into some of the more interesting parks that I didn't know about, Cypress Hollow being one of them. The idea here was that you can see where the X is. It's kind of tucked away at the back, and it's in between a couple of redwood trees there. That's where he was excited about placing a sign. And then finally, we have Tether. Am I saying that right? Tether Park. And this is another park that I had no idea about, but it's a lovely spot. And there are a couple of places to sit. And there's a kind of a contemplative little grove there. And so the array that he has selected are a number of signs that are translations of a poem by the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. And again, this I think is exciting. You might want to talk about, Liz conducted an anecdotal one-person survey.
Yes. So in speaking with my 7-year-old son tonight and reviewing this, just to get his feedback, I think a lot of the time there's a lot of negative words out there, and to see all of these positive words, he quote said it made him feel excited and friendly, and that it inspired him to want to share kind words with other people. So I think it would be really appealing to kids and family in this town.
Yeah, and they're exhortations to sort of pause, contemplate, connect, all things that parks naturally do, but sometimes we're all busy. We're hooked up to our earbuds or whatever, and we're not in the moment. And these kind of help you. I think there's like a mindfulness tie-in here. They help you kind of get in the moment and be present in the location where you're at. And that's really what we were kind of striving for with this installation. These are some of the public safety and installation considerations. You'll see again at the appendix the many cities that Scott has worked with, and he is, it's just a turnkey operation for him. Everything is fabricated to DOT specifications, minimal environmental impacts, and they're well out of the way, so no one would confuse them with actual traffic signs or directions. So there's no chance of any accidents or mistakes on that side. The larger proposal has more detail about this, and I'm sure this is of particular interest to you as well, the environmental and safety considerations, and we're happy to share more of that information with you if you'd like to see that. And he, of course, works closely with Public Works staff always when he's installing his signs and making sure that it's not conflicting with underground wires and lines and that sort of thing, as Thomas Jackson did during his installation, where we worked closely with Public Works as well. Finally, and it would only take, according to Scott, it would maybe take 1 to 2 days to install this array of I think 10 signs. Is that the total? I think we've got about that.
It's gone back and forth.
Yeah.
It's
It's about 10 signs. So you can see this is we're funding this fully. We have the funds, and it's a relatively modest compared to some of the other projects we've done. It's a relatively modest outlay for us. And our next steps is we were hoping that we would get some feedback from Post, and at some point, if you think that this is worthy of pursuing, your approval as well, so we can then take it to the Tiburon Town Council for their recommendations and approval as well. And the target installation is spring 2026, so there's plenty of time still. And then finally, I'm going to take you to his very impressive list of places where he has installed his word on the street. And you can see there not only, I mean, there are many in California, but there are a number in other states as well, including Toronto, Ontario, where it was at the Museum of Contemporary Art. And also, I believe there was a thing at the Smithsonian Brunswick Gallery in Washington, D.C. as well. So with that, that's our brief presentation. I'm happy to entertain any questions or concerns that you might have and move it forward a little bit if we can.
Great. Thank you so much. I guess at this point, we have time for questions from the commissioners. If anyone has any questions. Comments?
Thanks, you guys, really cool. A couple questions. One, are there other parks that you had looked at, like have more foot traffic, like Blackie's Pasture or anything like in that area? And was there reasons why those weren't chosen?
We did consider all of the parks, and I think some of the discussion amongst our commissioners involved the idea of discoverability, and Blackie's, of course, is an iconic place, and there are some spaces around that, and we'd be happy if your commission would come up with other suggestions over the next few weeks or whatever. We'd be happy to entertain those. I mean, we're not tied to these. I mean, I think some of the concerns that we commissioners had was, to interfere with sort of like the iconic nature. I mean, like we wouldn't want to put a sign, next to Blackie, but clearly the statue, but clearly there are places there where the trail, the old rail trail ends and other spots that would be suitable. But we wanted to also create a kind of somewhat of a linear path from, not so much from Cypress Hollow, but along the path. And we could certainly, again, this is one reason why we'd like your feedback, is if you can come up with some placement ideas as well. Scott's open to it. It's really the discussion with the commissioners. I think, do you recall what some of the other concerns were?
I think just some of the general feedback we got from the initial proposal was if it's too close to a roadway, it would be distracting to drivers. And so through many iterations, we looked for places that were more discoverable, surprise and delight type areas.
Yeah, that's also why it's kind of off the bike path, as the main bike path. It's not.
Got it.
There are no signs there, because originally we had thought maybe that might be an interesting, kind of line, is to place them along the bike path, but there was some concern among some of the commissioners about safety.
And the only other question I have is, are you all familiar with some of the park plans that we're going through? Specifically one for Cypress Hollow, in which that park would probably be under design and changes while the sign would in your time frame. Are you aware of that?
I was not aware of that.
Okay.
No, but that's good to know. And again, these are not unlike Thomas Jackson's piece, which was very specifically site specific. these are fairly fungible. I mean, we can kind of, move them around or again, take, recommendations from you as to where you want them or where you think they might go because, this is your backyard, so to speak. So, I mean, it's more in your wheelhouse than ours.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So can you remind me, did Scott come to Tiburon and walk around and?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this was part of his desire of where he thought his art would be impactful.
Well, he has been here before, but we did send him quite a detailed map outlaying, where the town has park space and where Marin County has park space and where we can do things and where we can't do things. And he wanted to come and really, get a feel for the location and get a feel for the spot. Again, I was with him and I sort of directed him, gently nudged him here and there. We didn't do a comprehensive walk of all the park spaces here in town, but we went to places where the commission had already decided these might be good, again, for the same, reasons that Liz just raised. Yeah. But we're open to recommendations.
I would echo, thank you guys. This is great. And it's fun and exciting to, get more art throughout the town and get everybody exposed to it. And then I just have a similar question to Chuck. Could we think about, Cypress, well, not the Tether Park, for example, like beautiful location, great if we want to put a sign there, but it's just like so low traffic, right? A lot of people don't know about it. So I think whatever we can do, I know it's a bit of a catch-22 because there's safety concerns, but I at least for one would support trying to get it in the high visibility areas. As long as we thought, you want to be careful around anything motorists. But for example, like the breathe sign could even be close maybe to the, multi-use path. It was Parks Commissioner specifically who's flagged safety concerns for being close to the bike path, or who?
It was Heritage and Arts Commissioners.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the concerns. We have people from all sorts of backgrounds on the commission and
Sure.
Some attorneys and others who are there who, are all looking out for the safety and the
Sure.
well-being of everybody. And, but again, I would love to see, a map from your commission with ideas as well. And I mean, that's part of this process, I think, is, we'd love to be working hand in hand with you guys. We thought Tether was interesting because it was such an underserved, underused park, but
Maybe
again,
it draws attention to the park.
That's
which is-
exactly
yeah,
right.
I think that's great.
That's
So,
exactly right. And it's close enough to downtown where, you can just like walk over there
Yeah,
and check
pop
it
over.
out. You know what I mean?
It's a totally fair point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd be I think this is great as a baseline, and anywhere we can think about where there's higher traffic areas that are still safe to put it more signs. I think it's interesting. If we're going to do it, might as well,
Yeah.
do it well.
Great.
I have a few questions. Did you all, and I mean, along the same lines, did you look at Shoreline Park, the one that's right in downtown? And the reason I ask is they're always looking for, they're looking for stuff to draw people downtown.
Yeah.
Well, I know they've been working on like a town of Tiburon lit up sign or something that I guess, for lack of a better term, people would go take pictures in front of and, post on social media or whatever. I'm assuming the answer goes back to the safety piece, which makes sense.
I mean,
But it's like, that's such a interesting area for something like this.
in that case, with Shoreline, it's more the HOA of the Point Tiburon
But I asked.
community there. I mean,
Because of,
we haven't broached it with them, and but word on the street, forgive the pun, is that it's a tough row to hoe, basically. I mean, but
you
but with your support, I mean, I would love to see more activity on Shoreline. People get off the ferry right there. I'm there all the time. People are, it's right next downtown. It would be a great draw. The Chamber of Commerce would, I'm sure, support it.
And that's exactly, we work with the chamber on that area. And that's something that we're constantly discussing. It's just how to pull people downtown to take photographs, then, any of the shops are included in that. And I do think
Yep.
that that's something that the folks who run businesses and manage businesses downtown certainly have, been looking for is additional reasons to pull people down. I don't know anything about the HOA from the folks across the street down there. I'm sure my commissioners will fill me in on some of that, but don't underestimate any of the, homeowner associations around any of the other smaller parks.
I mean, it's always about the view, you know what I mean? And you got a sign there and
You're right. I mean, there's a balance here. It's just there is a lot of traffic down there. And
Yeah.
just from a follow-up question, just to switch, this artist, it was great to kind of poke around and see some of the installations that he's had. To me, a lot of it looked, I mean, other than the Burning Man images you put up there, actually, they probably qualify as high traffic areas. And you see the sign, you assume it's one thing, it's something else, and you sort of pause.
Right.
That's not, and I get that, and I like that idea. It's a little different with the locations that we're looking at. Did we reach out to him? How did this, what was the genesis of the idea for that?
Right. So about, I guess it was just the year before COVID began, and when I was not a commissioner at that time, but when I joined, there were a number of proposals. We had at that time the Public Art Selection Panel, PASP, which has since been disbanded, but they were kind of they weren't a town body. They were a group that the Heritage and Arts Commission had formed from volunteers to get ideas about public art and about art in general in the town together. And these are residents who are connected to the arts or have relationships with people who are connected to the arts and are advocates of supporters of the arts. And so Scott was part of that. There was a group of proposals. Scott was there. This was not really one of his things, but he ended up actually doing some work for us. He made these enamel signs for a fundraising initiative that we had, START. So it looks like a stop sign. It's a reflective enamel badge that you wear, and the word art in START is in red, and the and ST is in blue, I think it was, or something. So START art,
Got it.
So you can go to his website. I mean, he's got some really amazing things, other interesting installations. He's got a giant steel skeleton of a teardrop that mists water. I mean, I would love to see that where that anchor is right now, down near shoreline, but that's not going to happen probably. So,
a couple more questions. This artist, you mentioned that there's a little bit of adventure to it, like wayfinding is the wrong word, but they found one sign, they may want to go find the others. Is that part of the way it's marketed? Maybe that's too strong of a word, but I suppose my question is, does this author, is he known for having, I guess, a viral following where people want to go see these signs?
yeah, I mean, different cities, depending on the number of signs and the arrays that he has. I think Glendale had more than some of the other places on the list. Is more widespread, but yeah, this is what he does, is he kind of works to create more community engagement with spaces in the towns.
And then you mentioned the QR code. Is that on the back of the sign, or how does that work? And obviously most arts installations have some, like a sign explaining what it is. Could you just run through is that part of this, or is there a QR code that people look up with the signage? And then
the QR code would probably be, on a small plaque, like a text panel or a plaque that is part of the, probably at the base of the sign, I would think. But that's a great question, and I can certainly get back to you on exact placement. But yes, there would be a text panel about, the work and you could get the QR code. And then, ideally we would work with you to create the map and also to maybe add more content about the parks themselves or about the communities that are around there, or the history of them in some, in some fashion, so that people could also learn a little bit more about the town and these spaces.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to us and taking time out of your meeting to hear our proposal. And we look forward to, sure, Marissa will follow up, and hopefully we'd love to get your thoughts when you have some time to discuss amongst yourselves and come back from your next.
Action item.
It is an action item.
Yes.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. So what's the action item? Is it?
Well, so we have a process, so we're gonna
Okay.
go through.
Okay.
But thank you for that.
Okay.
And stay, because we're gonna get back to a discussion amongst the post committee members. So.
Okay.
All right, so next we're gonna have, we're gonna open it up for public comment. So anybody here wanting to speak? Okay.
Oh,
Thanks. I was just seeing the proposal for the first time, and I'm speaking tonight just as a person on my personal opinion. I'm also a member of the Parents for Parks and Recs group, and we haven't had a chance to discuss this and come to consensus as a group. But just personally, I really support this. I think it's really fun and accessible, and is something that would be engaging for people of all ages, especially kids. My son loves traffic signs, and I think he would be super excited to see a sign in a park. I think it's really good for taking photos, taking selfies. I like the interactivity aspect of it with the QR code. Seems pretty low budget for original artwork, or commissioned artwork, and it's temporary. So if people don't like it, it's gone in 6 months, and you can sell the pieces too and make money. I don't know. It just seems like it checks a lot of boxes. My only sort of critical feedback would, it'd be great to see it in higher visibility spaces. It seems like a shame to spend the money and do this and then hide it in parks. Like if we could have it near the Blackie's Pasture parking lot or in Shoreline Park, or, to make it really a thing that people can see and engage with. But anyhow, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any comments online or any people online wanting to comment?
I see none.
Okay. All right, so let's go to commissioner discussion. Any thoughts?
I'm happy to jump in real
Yeah.
quick. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. We split it up obviously to questions and then comments. The Thomas Jackson installation was a game changer. Hopefully I got that name right. It brought so many people to town. And it was cool to see Tiburon, quote, go viral, see the people who are coming into town to see that art installation was impressive. So definitely fully behind the concept of more art installations. I was more hesitant coming into this item, like just to be candid, when I first read about it, I was a little curious and kind of scratching my head a little bit. Maybe that's more on some of the messaging on the signs, but the way you present it and the openness to the feedback on location and making sure that we have opportunities as parks commissioners to drive more traffic to any of these parks in any of these town or in parts of towns, it is a cool opportunity. You mentioned the ferry building. Would I have picked a mermaid at the ferry building, entrance? Probably not, but I, walk past it every other day, and there's a lot of people out there taking photographs. Not to mention the huge tall lady across the street. So I appreciate the opportunities for us to comment on this. I do think, it makes sense to, so I don't have any formed thoughts completely here, but I like the ideas of the signs at Zelinsky Park. There are people who are sort of in and around there, just coming from the library and town hall and a lot of events over there. I don't think that blocks anybody's view or anything like that. Commissioner Hornbrook made a great point on the Cypress Hollow Park, just that there will be some construction going on. So I think for the artist's sake, that is one we probably should give serious thought to about not including one in that park. And I like the Wonder and Wander signage that are in the McKegney Pathway connection of all these signs. I think I really like those. I could see people taking photographs of them, particularly if they're obviously facing towards Richardson Bay. Like those are going to be great images. I don't love the breathe as one of the, I don't know why, I see that tattoo on too many people. Like I'm not a huge fan of that messaging. Francisco, please don't write about that. I don't love that messaging. Yeah, well, includes some family members. I don't, I like that one. I don't love. But pulling back, coming in hesitant, I think you make a lot of strong points. Like we should be open to art installations here. My point about the Gigantic Mermaid is I'm not the best guess at what is going to draw people there, but the conversation itself, whether you like it or whether you don't, you want to go see it. It is a game changer. We should take risks like this. Appreciate the cost perspective. 15K coming out in an existing budget to drive a conversation, I think is a great opportunity. So, you know, overall, I do feel, and like we'd be happy to work with you or take feedback in the future. I do think that from our perspective, it feels like from the questioning, perhaps there's interest in targeting those higher trafficked areas, but obviously making sure we're setting it back so it's not implicating vehicles that are driving by or confusing anybody. And to the question I asked earlier, Mr. Chair, I think you're the chair, right?
Yes.
I like the idea of people seeing the sign that normally would see somewhere else, and then it sort of makes them question what that sign might be. So overall, you know, supportive. I do just think that there's some tweaking with respect to the locations. And so, yeah, I'll pause there.
Right. Anyone else?
I agree with Tim's comments. They're all spot on that. And I think maybe it is thinking about other different areas to put these, maybe even that spot where the picnic tables are over by the fountain as well, if we all are a little shy of the park on the other side there. And then I think it's yeah, along up near the trestle and pieces like that, and then connecting them. I like that as well, and then and bringing folks in, introducing them to other aspects of the park, even the top of Knoll. There's the one of his signs was like it says something about infinity. It's I was just scrolling through all this, but it's got the infinity sign, but it says like danger ahead or something, or it says warning, you know, infinity space, and it is. It's in. So I mean, I think those would be kind of fun and whimsical and adventurous for the kids and as adults, and so. Thank you I appreciate you guys staying on and bringing that forward too. It's really neat. Thanks.
I don't have further. I agree with the comments. Try to get higher traffic areas. I think you guys heard that. Will take worth maybe pushing it a little bit more. And then I'm ready to move in support of it if that's the next action. But I don't know if you want to do any comments.
Yeah, I have some comments. I absolutely agree. We should have at least one sign in town, and I don't know where, but because I think it's also a perfect place for visitors to kind of start their journey. So like have that be like that's the start, you know, and then then you can have the wandering all around town, but like have that be kind of the hub, so to
When you
speak.
say in town, I think you mean like at the ferry.
At the ferry,
Yeah,
or
somewhere around there.
yeah, or maybe the picnic tables, or even that place right by the ferry stop. There's that little triangle where people park their bikes. They lock up their bikes. And there's like a couple of benches right there. That's Zelensky, but it's like closer to town, so maybe the residents won't care as much. I don't know, but I think drawing people to town is a perfect opportunity to get traffic into Tiburon, and like have people start there, and then they can learn about, oh, there's actually like this scavenger hunt kind of component to it, and then kind of go off to the rest of the town. The top of the knoll, I think, is a great idea. I had that on my list. Is the hippie tree also part of like a Tiburon Parks area? So I don't know if the hippie tree area might be an interesting spot to put a sign.
one of our considerations was access and parking as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And, you know, I know that Cypress Hollow is in a residential area, but there are plenty of streets there and it's easy to get to.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, one thing there. But I mean, I'm not sure Hippie Tree, there's really two ways to get there, right? There's at the end of Avenida Miraflores,
Mhm.
and then I think Gilmartin, I believe.
Gilmartin, yeah.
But again, I'm open to, you know, that would be a great place. I mean, Hippie Tree is like, you know, that's iconic spot for us, and to have a sign that is exhorting you to, you know, kind of open yourself up to
Yeah.
whatever would be amazing. I would ask that, you know, as commissioners, you know, I'm taking notes here. You know, maybe we can have another iteration with some other locations. And in the meantime, feel free to write to Marissa with any other comments or suggestions that might come to you over the next week or two or whatever, you know, before the end of the year. And we'll incorporate it. I mean, Scott, he's very flexible. You know, he's not a mad genius who says it's got to be this way or that way. You know, he's a very flexible person. He likes to work with towns and the bodies that, you know, comprise the governance of the towns and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, please, you know, these are great ideas, and we're hesitant. You know, I mean, this is, again, it's post, so we're a little bit hesitant as to like, we're going to put one right on, you know, in Blackie's pasture or on Shoreline Park, right? I mean, that's kind of like
On a town hall, just be.
yeah. So, but now that I'm getting that feedback and higher visibility, I mean, I think that's great. I would love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of more leaning towards, you know, come to town and see the installation, but then, you know, there's 4 or 5 really cool spots in Tiburon that you should check out, and
Mhm.
maybe link kind of where those signs are for that. You know, have people have an impression, you know, leaving Tiburon, wow, like I can't believe that spot up by Hippie Tree or on the top of the knoll, or like this town is amazing, you know, and might be a nice synergy around that.
Great. Okay. We will take it into consideration, and we'll probably come back to you guys in the new year.
Yeah. And by the way, having a sign saying breathe at Cypress Hollow may be a good idea for all the residents there to like just calm down a little bit.
I agree with, I think it's good for all of them, but
You know, remember, in the Reed School District, breathe is an important part of their mindfulness. Their mindfulness. Yes.
4 months into it or whatever.
so
Tell the super-
should we make?
You
a
will learn to
motion?
love breathe.
So Chair, we probably should make a motion, but I do think that we need to, at least within a motion, say that probably any of the proposed park areas that are part of our current activity probably should not be just taken off the list. And I appreciate that we all focused on the high trafficked areas, because I think, again, for the community members who are like, hey, these are whimsical and nice, but I don't want anybody parking on my street to go see something. I appreciate that, but I also think we need to be sensitive to that and breathe and think about that,
Mhm.
because there would be an empathy. Maybe there's an empathy sign out there too on that front. So I don't know if we need to make a motion on
Well,
that.
I can move, we can modify it if we want. We can move that we support the project, support the budget, give 2 pieces of feedback. 1, try for some more high traffic areas, and 2, reconsider locations that might be in a construction project. And kind of 3, we'll work with you on, you know, further iteration, but we can start with the support, and Cypress being, you know, one of those locations that might be harder. Yeah.
I second that motion.
And with that motion, would you like H&A to return back with their updated proposal?
Yes.
Okay.
It can happen in a meeting or asynchronous. I don't have, you know, can also do it by email, but up to you guys, what you think's.
Well, if they don't come back, they'll just it'll be where it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we invite you to iterate by email or by coming to a meeting.
Oh,
Either way.
iteration by, yeah, but then they'll come back with their, like, here's what we're gonna
Yeah.
do.
When does this have to be sent to town council for approval?
And to town council, we have it slated for spring, right? So that's kind of, April, May.
Mhm.
So ideally, March. I mean, the funds are there. It's not like there's a fundraising component to this. So
It sounds like there's time for you to come back to posts with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the changes.
Happy to do
Yeah.
that.
Why don't we just do that so that we move to have
Right.
them come back to post after some of these changes?
I mean, I would suggest that, our ad hoc work with, some of you or one of you or in some way so that you're apprised of what we're trying to do. And maybe, at some point, now that you've given us your support, we'd like to be able to take that. I know Francisco is going to report on that, and that's great. But we'd like to be able to go to the HOA, for example, at Shoreline and say, hey, like people are behind this. It's not 30 signs. It's like maybe 1 or 2 on your location there or something like that. Because that would strengthen our, proposal, definitely.
And I think you could, if I can respond, I mean, I think you could do it at Shoreline, like behind the railroad depot building and, where Mike was saying, or Commissioner, over by where the bike parks are, like.
Yeah. The museum, that railway museum.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have one quick question, if I may, sorry, pending motion. The funding, the 54K that's cited in the public art fund, is that money that's privately fundraised, or is that money that is a town allocation?
The initial the initial amount was allocated by the town to our projects, and then I think it's accrued interest. I mean, we haven't dipped into it at all. So
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's like our war chest.
Doesn't change my thought. I was just
Mhm.
curious.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Should we
Just
Could
a
I get-
motion to come back at a next meeting.
full motion with our support? That we support it and come back?
Great.
Okay, second. Yeah,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
Yeah.
take roll call since we have Liz isn't here. Well,
Okay.
Chair Moon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gafari,
Yes.
Commissioner Holbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Burr.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming in. Exciting project. Okay, let's go on to action item A-2, the SUP kayak launch study area. And with this, I think Vice Chair Gafari is going to be presenting.
Great, yeah. So we've evaluated a handful of sites, as discussed a few times now. And so one recommendation I want to discuss here and maybe take as an action item is while we evaluate the other sites, because most sites require some cooperation, primarily with Belvedere, and we just can't control the timing on that. There's other parties we've talked about as well, like Olivia Decker downtown. But this Bramble location, basically at the corner of Tiburon Boulevard and San Rafael, that I think is on Tiburon property, is one that we have more control over. It does have a seasonality issue. But I think it is nice to give the town an access point that they have. So we wanted to look into just proposing to actually begin the work, see what it entails, get a cost estimate, start the town, let David kind of go to work on that. So what's the best process? Do we do public comment on it first, or do we discuss?
Questions, yeah.
Okay. So I open it up to discussion here.
Do we need public comment? Oh, there's no public
No,
comment?
we have questions first. Yeah.
Oh,
No questions.
questions.
No questions. Okay. So now public,
Well, I-
Tim had a
Yes.
question.
Do you know, and maybe this is Dave for David, do we know, I think I know the answer, but do we know if this town is like, or this has ever been in all the, has this specific location been analyzed for costs? No, I'm saying a no. Okay, great.
No, it hasn't. We haven't really we haven't pursued this location. It's the first time. As you can see on the map we have here, it is pretty much bordering the closure area. So we have to look into that to see exactly where that's plotted. The other issues that we see as staff sees is, you have two residences right above the park that are Tiburon, and then you have Belvedere right across the street. The street is owned by Belvedere jurisdiction. So parking, pickup, drop off. I mean, it's going to be a difficult location, one with the neighbors, and two with just the access to it. But we will look into it and see what we can do.
Thank you.
other questions?
Wasn't the
Yep.
thought that the parking was going to be off of Tiburon Boulevard, not necessarily on the Belvedere streets? Yeah.
Tiburon, and then see, now we have right of way and jurisdiction with Caltrans, and right now we have a bus stop that is just south of that signal, and because of, I want to say, resource sensitivity in the area, transit can't even go out there and do any work in locations. It really triggers CEQA big time, even for parking areas that require asphalt or concrete or curb or gutters or sidewalks. So it's a tough, that corner there is a very tough location.
Do you want to spell out CEQA just for everybody?
CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to go through CEQA for that, any type of work in this area.
But I guess, yeah, I think Chair Moon's question might be, like, I'm just looking at the aerial photos on Google Maps. There's just shoulder parking, even if if people elect to use that. We're not necessarily encouraging or discouraging that, but I think that there's no regulation I'm aware of that says you can't park on the shoulder there, right?
On Tiburon Boulevard,
Oh.
there is some signage out there, I believe, parking and no parking out there. Caltrans actively does not allow any parking on the shoulders because it's considered a state highway, even though it's considered, we use it like a local arterial street, but Caltrans would not allow parking there and loading and unloading kayaks or paddle boards on the side of the road. It's a tough location, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think it is also the only location that's in the Tiburon jurisdiction is the challenge, right? I think that's why. So if we want to do something, and since we had such strong interest and support in having a launch area, this seems, but so I think that's the thinking. I wonder, it's interesting. I haven't seen, do you think, like, so yeah, on the parking specifically, I don't want to trigger all of a sudden no parking signs going up, but has anybody seen those no parking signs over there? Because I've seen various folks park there.
On the Richardson Bay side, I've seen.
Yeah,
them.
you've seen,
they're there.
okay.
They're there.
I mean, yeah, and I'm occasionally there's a car there, but not usually.
Yeah, there's not usually people park there long term, that's true. I'm trying to look at, if there are other places people could park. And I'm not too familiar with Las Palmas Way there. I don't know if anyone has a sense.
Private.
It's a private road, and
Private road,
I've walked it for
yeah.
yes on M signs, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a small, all those are small. I mean, they didn't do a ton of planning when they put those roads in. They're really narrow and small. They're like a lane and a half wide. So,
I also don't think we're going to have a ton of people parking there. It's not, this is going to be a couple people
so
at
I
a
guess,
time.
uh,
So
I guess the
is
question,
where-
Mike, would
Yeah.
be on the scope of, or Commissioner Gafari.
Yeah.
Sorry, I realize there's two mics. Is what is the scope of the direction to the town?
Yeah, so I think the proposal and part of the thinking here is if we start the process of costing out, because it hasn't been done since 2015, right? Of just figuring out materials, what it costs to build a basic launch point, get it out there. Obviously, uh, setting it up, engineering it for different locations is going to be a little bit different, but some of the materials cost and some of the design might be reusable. So if we were able to get another location later that we thought was better, we could move it over or potentially have two. But the idea is, and would love David's input here, because you've got experience doing this before, right? Just a basic launch gets people out a little further out from the mud and provides access where they feel a little more comfortable dropping in and dropping out. On the Tiburon side, as we've discussed, the only place to do it with an actual launch point right now is going to Strawberry. So giving somewhere further south that people can access.
Got it. So it's building a launch, like something similar that's at Strawberry or
Yeah.
at Mill Valley.
I think that's the
So
idea
they
of. But open to discussion if someone's got another idea or a different location in mind. I know we've been
Well, no, I
doing-
think we've explored all the
Yeah.
ideas and the locations. I think the challenge with this spot is the lack of parking, is all the things
Yeah.
that David talked about. And it would be, I mean, it's almost frankly, and I don't know if it's a done deal or past that deal, but with all that effort and knowing that it would just be minimal parking and the expense, is it just better spent for 6 months availability to put something at Blackie's pasture?
Yeah. Yeah, that is where all the parking and everything is.
That's and
It's just, and I don't, launch that often, so I don't really know. But one concern I've heard is people want to get closer to the main bay and Angel Island and stuff like that, and that's that much further. I don't know if any of you guys have experience.
Wait, no,
How
I've
much that
launched.
adds.
There's another place to kind of launch off of San Rafael and West Shore. Is that
Yeah.
West Shore? So I've
Like at
I've
One West
launched.
Shore.
Yeah, I've launched there.
But I mean, have you launched from Blackie's and gone out? Like, how much
No.
time does that add?
It adds a lot of time,
Yeah, that would be a
particularly because.
So I think that's the challenge for people is that basically lets them maybe do a little bit of Richardson Bay, but it makes it much harder for them to
right. Well, I think that
just tough. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that unless other ideas come to fruition that are more logically
I wonder,
bound.
can we ask the town attorney to actually just double click on the parking stuff to see if there is some way that we can get some parking access? It's just completely not feasible.
I mean, that's David's point on that's Caltrans is.
What do you think, David? Is it a slam dunk, open and shut, that there's absolutely no parking? Or could the town attorney try to look into that area and see, is there some sort of,
Really, it's the jurisdiction of Caltrans.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give up or provide parking on the side of the road. That's just increased liability for them on the boulevard.
Are we in comment period or are we still in questions?
Questions?
questions? Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we do go to public comment and then we can do discussion.
You guys have any more questions? No? Okay. Okay, let's move to public comment. Anybody? Anybody online?
Yeah, one hand. Kathy?
Kathy, I've thought about this a lot because I live right across from Blackie's pasture. I am wondering, over at Strawberry, they have drudged that out to make their launch. So I'm wondering, what is the possibility of us dredging out that area right across from the parking lot, you know? I mean, it just goes out so far where it's, it's shallow for such a long way. Anyway, that's my sorry, it's a question more than a comment. I'm sorry. I don't know. This seems like a big issue and a hard way to solve the problem. Well, good luck.
To clarify, are you talking about at Blackie's pasture or where are you talking about?
Yeah, it's Blackie's pasture. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
So.
Anything else online? Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, no more.
Nothing online? Okay.
No.
All right, let's move it back to discussion. I guess my view is that I think it's good to try to do something that's within our control. I mean, we've been trying so hard trying to figure out things that require Belvedere approval or a real estate owner's approval. On two, the two probably, those are the top sort of A quality sites, right? So I think the idea of trying to do something that's within our control is a good one. I guess the real question is how viable this Bramble Beach site is. So if it turns out that there is no parking or like sort of legal parking, how do you feel about that location?
Yeah, if we absolutely can't figure out that's the long pole in the tent. So I agree. If we're convinced that there's no possible parking solution, it's unrealistic for people to bring kayaks there at least.
Right.
It's inflatable stand-up paddle boards. Maybe people bring there by bike, but I think it's mostly unrealistic. I think most users want to travel by car for this.
Right.
So it all does hinge on the parking. So that's why I'm wondering if there's some creative idea or some way to do it. But I get it. I've looked into issues involving Caltrans before on Tiburon Boulevard, and it is hard. I just still want to think about whether we can get past it somehow. But maybe it's just a non-starter. You guys have more experience.
It is very difficult. I think that if we're going to explore Bramble, it's very close to that closure. I think a better location would be, and since we do have a consultant RHA on board for the ponds area, across from it is pretty much an extension of the pond, where if we'd like them to look at to build a launch site pretty much across from the ponds, that area, even at low tide, still has water in there, and it can serve as a platform for viewing when the bay is closed, and then it could be a launch site as well when the bay is open, and that I think would be a good location there. If we want to look at, and since we have a consultant on board, they can quickly provide us with some feedback on cost and what kind of environmental regulations we have to go through, since we still have to do environmental since we're close to the bay in that area with possibly BCDC work. So I think that's a good location. You've got parking. And then, while that's going, if you want another location, I still think it would be a good idea or a great idea to work with our counterpart in Belvedere, the post-commission counterpart that they have out there, and find a viable location that we can share with them in their cove area there.
Well, I'm not a big SUP or kayaker myself, but is that distance from the ponds to the parking lot long enough that it would be painful to carry a SUP or kayak all the way or not? It seems like a long way.
It's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah.
I've carried, the blow up ones, the backpack, I've carried it even further when we've used it. So
Right.
depending on, the canoe, the weight and what you're doing, it's hard. It's frustrating that we're surrounded by water all the way around and there aren't many locations. But I think that, if we're looking at anywhere near the closure area, that would probably be a good site.
Right.
And Mike, I think also I've never been I like the park, but on Paradise Park, which is owned by the county, is that we just continue to work with them to figure out how to make that a place to launch versus just the fishing pier that they have there, right? I mean, they'd probably be interested in, I mean, again, it's not downtown, it's nothing that we desire, but at least it's on the southern side of the peninsula, a little bit more south. And it's
Yeah.
pretty wind protected it's totally wind protected on the backside there in the San Francisco, San Pablo Bay area.
I think that's a good one in parallel. I do wonder if what would we place as first priority, given the trade-offs, the Blackie's Pasture location or the Paradise Park location?
Like
I'm
if we
curious.
if the town controlled Paradise Park.
Yeah. But well, if we want to prioritize where we're going to try to put our efforts.
I'd say Blackie's probably.
Yeah, so it might be try to do both in parallel, but start with Blackie's.
Are you still going?
No, I'm done, dude.
I'm sorry, I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
I mean, apologies to staff ahead of time here, but I mean, we've talked about this, for so long. This is one of those classic situations where I'm just like overthinking that we're going to find a perfect solution. Can't let perfect be the enemy of the good. I wanted to, go to someone's house who lives right here on San Rafael not that long ago, paddled over, no safe place to get out of the water. So I turned around and went home. It's not just about building a dock of some kind where someone's going to be able to walk out and perfectly place their kayak or paddleboard in the water. Like that, I don't see that along our beautiful waterfront just due to the tides. And on the flip side, on Raccoon Strait, it is very sketchy to launch in that area, to use a technical term. So respecting the closure, which most people do, it's very few and far between you see people out there in the bay during the closure. One thing I like about exploring this site is when we have the ponds conversation as the beachfront restoration project is happening. It's not as simple as having just one place to enter and exit the bay. You need a series of places where you can get in and out of the water in a safe manner. So I personally like the idea here of asking town staff, aka David, to, use the resources we have to take a look at this area. We found out a lot, just even Commissioner Hornbrook's work, then Chair's work, looking at the space on Main Street that I wouldn't have even thought there would have been a conversation at first. So I do like the concept of taking a look at this. And if it's just a non-starter and that becomes evident really quick, then we'll know that there's just no chance. So for me, I would support this item without hesitation, understanding that it may not get very far. But because of the rockiness down there, and I'd have to go back out there, but it would be worth kind of exploring a little bit, and we can answer some of these questions. I do think it's clear parking is going to be a problem. And I don't think anybody's ever talked to the people who live on the corner right there. So I'm not saying that has to be part of the motion, but just some additional steps to assess viability, I'd be supportive of. So I will go ahead.
Well, I'm in favor of Tim of just making a decision, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have, and perfect shouldn't be the enemy of the good. Well said. So I don't mind just making a motion that wait, let me look at
We direct town staff to do some research.
let me look at the.
Just yes on whatever the items.
Yeah, I think
You
so.
say moving on
My
action
motion
item
is to
A2.
recommend town staff to analyze Bramble Beach as a possible sub kayak launch site and provide an update to post at a future commission meeting.
Do you want to add Blackie's to it or just do it for Bramble Beach?
No.
Okay.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so let's do a vote.
Chair Moon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ghaffari? Yes. Chair Holmbrook?
Yes.
Chair Burr?
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Burr?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. All right,
Great.
I'll do some studies on that and come back.
Yep.
Thank you.
I mean, if anything, I think finality is kind of good right? Because we always talk about, oh, what about this site? What about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
I find out if it's even called Bramble Beach. We just I think saw that
Right.
from Google Maps. Right? Is that yeah.
But it would be good. Did we ever connect with Olivia? Did she ever talk to us?
I haven't been able to get a meeting with her. A brief phone call of just kind of cold calling and then emails, but not an actual schedule
Okay.
kind of
But
discussion.
she hasn't said no.
She hasn't said no.
Okay. All right.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm still hopeful that because it's
Yeah.
such a good location,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. That's the
Yeah.
way we go. All right, let's move on to discussion items. D-1, Tiburon Mini Parks Improvement Subcommittee.
Yes, so I want to give a quick update on the 3 mini parks and the work with Carlisle, Macy, and RHAA. So I see just Carlisle, Macy listed on here, but I think this item captures both, if I'm not mistaken. We've had additional number of conversations, starting with Carlisle, Macy, and starting with Cypress Hollow. We had a few opportunities now to give them feedback that we had received, thanks to Commissioner Hornbrook's efforts getting us out there and just talking to the community a few different times. And we have
And the survey.
that's right, of course. And Carlisle Macy has put together, I guess call it a map that we have reviewed that sort of outlines the topography of that park. We don't yet have any artist renderings in terms of options and opportunities, but that's a clear next step for this park. I think overall they captured the essence of where we need some adjustments. This is the park, just to remind everybody, Cypress Hollow, where we have some old and outdated play structures that I think are almost 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken, something along that. And what felt like agreement amongst the community in there that that those are all ripe for some upgrades, but also a spacious park, making sure there's some separation, between the folks who use the park in terms of a fence, for dogs and children and different ideas and concepts like that. So the clear next step was turning those ideas into multiple designs, which will be a top priority as we move into the new year. Commissioner Hornbrook?
Yeah, and one of the unique parts about that Cypress Hollow is actually the love of some of the native trees that are there. There's a few big oaks. There's a massive oak right in the front when you come into it. There's some redwoods in the backside. And then there's a number of cypress there. So it's really just nice shaded that the landscape planners would like to want to keep all those pieces. The other thing that's a challenge with this spot, and maybe it's why 40 years ago or 30 years ago they didn't develop it for a house, is it's on a big slope. So the grade there's a path coming from the playground in the upper area down to the lower area is actually, they're going to look at it and make sure like would it be ADA compliant now or not? So they're going to do some investigations on that. So it's really going to be giving us some parameters. So they really gave us, I'd refer to them, for anybody who's done rework in their houses or anything, as built. So it's really like, this is what it looks like now. Here's where the sewer lines are. Here's the electrical lines are here. And here's the irrigation system. And here's where the plants are. Here's some plants that are dying and should have never been planted here a long time ago. It's just really kind of that analysis of that and where the structure is. And then given this topography as well as existing facilities or existing infrastructure, what could be placed there that makes sense? Again, incorporating all the feedback from the neighborhood. So it was very good with them. And then the other one we looked at was Bel Air. And again, they provided kind of an as-built, which is like, here's what Bel Air Park looks like. They have both the new stormwater drain that's through the middle, the new storm drain that they put at the bottom, and also just where all the trees were. And one of the challenges there, and we need to just kind of working with the neighbors, is there's a lot of vegetation that's both in the neighbor's yard that then grows into the park that's also kind of keeping up fences and things like that. So it's kind of an interesting neighborhood item that we definitely want to meet with all the neighborhoods that live there to make sure that everybody understands like the as-built as well as what kind of potential plans, but it'll be again, along the lines of the strategic plan, which is minimal changes and updates and pieces like that. So it's really, but again, they gave some of the constraints on it. There's, in terms of grade and some other pieces that we need to be thoughtful about to make sure that things are inclusive in our town parks and not, keeping people out that should be there. Anything else on Bel Air you want to talk about? Tim?
I did feel like Carla Macy has, heard indirectly loud and clear that less is more when it comes to updating this park. Maybe a bit of manicuring, but staying true to the passive nature of the park. So we'll look forward to next steps and getting some of those renderings and continuing the engagement with the community who utilizes Bel Air, on a regular basis.
And then we had a meeting with the RHAA today, going through a couple designs that they'd had put together regarding Belveron Mini Park, which has a nicely kind of manicured grass area, no signage, no drinking fountains or any other pieces in the front area, and then an upslope, and again another steep slope that goes up to an upper area that's somewhat wild, with some non-natives and some other pieces. And they provided a lot of just some photos and some planning of either from a very nature-based kind of bird sanctuary to all the way through to another kind of more kind of active use of that as well. Tim?
Yeah, no, I have the notes in front of me. The two approaches they sort of have outlined as options, which I just love these terms. The first one that Commissioner Hornbrook's talking about is immersed and connected. So this is envisioning this as just doubling down on the sort of natural, like how that park is and the habitat is set up now, making sure that there's additional opportunities for folks to go read or go whatever they might do, keep it very quite quiet, but with some opportunities for some structures, additional places to sit, really focus on the natural habitat of the area, maybe some signage explaining what plants and trees are natural to that region or that area. The second approach was what they coined as activated flow, which is maintaining the natural area and continuing to respect the existing landscape, but looking for opportunities for for kids, of teenagers to middle school kids and also smaller kids, to make sure that there's accessible, more active play areas. Many of us have seen some of these designs or seen some of these play out at some of the new parks in San Francisco, and we all got an opportunity to review the different proposals. We saw a lot of these natural art installations. It looks like a tree that is kind of like on a hill, but it's actually something that kids can go climb on and intentionally designed to reflect what naturally is there. And so we're really excited to have these images come to life. The goal, at least with RHAA, is have some conversations tonight, and then hopefully by January have images that we can bring for the community to take a look at and give comment on. So we will be continuing to work with them over the course of the next month. Did I miss anything?
No, both of them will so the January 20th meeting, both of them will have plans that we can provide comment on.
Yeah, and I think for RHA, the answer probably is somewhere in between these two use cases. That is such a unique space, and we'll be excited to get additional feedback on top of the survey and the plan that was put together. So overall, great work by both firms, and happy to see them incorporating a lot of the feedback that we've been hearing consistently.
Great. Any questions? Did Pump Track make
Thank
it
you.
into the
Ah.
overrun?
I'm trying.
It did. It did. Yeah, that definitely is in the activated flow.
Okay.
I think I I respect that they at least heard myself loud and clear with respect to taking a look
Well,
at, and Commissioner Hornbook.
But they had a photo of kids bombing down through, right?
So they thank you for reminding me.
Yeah,
They
okay.
had a great photo of it's at the end of the old rail trail, right before the trellis. Kid just absolutely bombing down like one of the steep parts, and then his buddies are sitting there watching. There's like a crew of 4 or 5 of them. And it was, I had never caught an image like that. Otherwise, you guys would have all seen it. So it was fun to see that. I think the challenge is just, what do you do? Like put a pump track up on top, or do you put one in the lower level? And if you connect it somehow, that's not really a pump track. It would be, more of an active slope that maybe kids could ride down, which is what happened during the pandemic. So I do think that, as they're getting started on images, I think we'd like to see something with that incorporated. RHAA staff, of course, did indicate that there were better places in town for a pump track, of course, such as at the ponds. But yeah, it was included in the activated flow images.
I'm all for the pump track.
All right. Let's open it up to public comment. Anybody? No. Anybody online?
Yeah, yes, we do. Kathy?
She lives on.
David, do you also want to keep the 3-minute marker? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I just want to say that a pump track is very important. There's so many kids that can benefit from it. It does so much. Tiburon is not on the side where Mount Tam is, and a lot of all the other kids get the benefit of just taking off and doing those nice long rides. But, just getting some bike skills and learning camaraderie and just fun. Plus, a pump track is fun for adults. So if done right, we can all enjoy it. And that's all I have to say about that. There's plenty of places in Tiburon too. I can say there's a lot of potential.
Thank you
Thanks.
for the comment.
All right.
Anybody else?
I see none.
All right, we'll go to discussion. I guess there's not, these are just informational items. There's
Yeah.
not really any discussion.
yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Thank you guys for that update. All right, let's move on to D2. So I'll give the update here. We did meet with RHAA with an initial meeting. We're hoping to schedule a meeting next week, and we're pinning down some dates to get some of their initial design ideas and collect some feedback on those ideas, with the ultimate goal of having a proposal for the ponds area for community feedback in the January post meeting. We'll definitely have more to report, or more idea of how they're headed after this meeting that we're going to have next week. But at this point, a lot of new information. Any questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
could I just call it the late mail #1 that's on the agenda? Is that linked? If you have the online agenda, it's linked there. It's not unfortunately on these iPads,
Okay.
but if you want to, you guys can take a look. This is, who sent this in? Parker Pringle sent this in. The iPads don't have the links, at least for me today. But anyway, the gist of it, if I can summarize what it says, this is all on the town website, on the agenda, and David emailed it around if you want to take a look. But I think it's an interesting point. I don't know if it's true or not. It's worth assessing. Parker's saying that if we do, there's the project going that's going to dig up, and try to refill some of Richardson Bay there near Blackie's pasture, but then it's going to end up after a year leaving it more muddy than it was before and less accessible. And it's got all these photo exhibits. So, David, do you have a sense? Have we assessed the engineering validity of these concerns?
Yes, just to say we've been working on this or the county has been working on this project for the last couple of years. The engineers that are on board for this project are world renowned, especially the Peter Bay. He's done beach restorations all across the United States. We had to take this project, and I'll name all of the different jurisdictions and folks that had to review it and provide us with permits. BCDC reviewed this project, approved it. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reviewed it and approved it. National Marine Fisheries Services reviewed it and approved it. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services reviewed and approved. U.S. Department of Commerce reviewed and approved. California State Lands Commission recently reviewed and approved, with the lieutenant governor being the chair of that board. And this is in regards to the Barrow area because the state owns all those mineral rights. They approved this project. And the San Francisco Regional Water Quality Board. This used to be a very large footprint that the county has been very sensitive to Mr. Pringle's comments. They've taken that area and shrunk it down to no more than 20 feet wide. The Barrow area is going to be anywhere between 400 to 800 cubic yards. It equates to about no more than 2.5 feet deep in some areas. But the county currently, they're still in the design process here. They're reviewing. They're looking at alternatives, meaning that they're trying to now just avoid all Barrow. They just don't have the bandwidth to continue. So they are looking at other options to significantly reduce the Barrow area. Once this project is done or the design is complete, we'll come back here to post and basically provide an update on the final design that's going to go out to bid. But all of these entities that I just had named have looked at all of the plans and the proposals, and yes, there will be about a 2.5 foot, anywhere between no more than 20 foot wide through the channel, but the whole beach will be restored. Those minerals are getting moved to other areas. And let me share something here since we're talking about this.
But yeah, that's helpful to know. It's just 20 feet wide, the Barrow, so that impacted area.
Yeah. So this is the blue area that you see here shaded. That is the proposed Barrow area, about 20 feet, 280 feet long, 20 foot wide. Minimum max depth of the excavation would be 2.5 feet, and the excavation volume anywhere between 475 to 800 cubic yards. And we are looking at trying to reduce that. Now, this is the area where it shows some pictures of folks in here, but we're taking this out here and restoring this whole area.
Yep.
And I want to share a picture so that you can see the areas.
Just ask one quick question on that previous picture. Does it have to, and maybe there's a good reason it does it have to start at the shoreline? You can't start a little bit like 10 feet deeper out?
That's
That little blue.
that's a channel already. That's something I can ask the engineer, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I can definitely
Yeah.
ask them to look at that. But I wanted to show this here. So this was the previous area that we were looking at, the county was looking at. So that was reduced now just to a sliver through here. But everything that we're removing from here is being redeposited, and we're restoring this shoreline here and all the way in through here.
And you think it's going to last longer than a year, right?
The
The restored area. Yeah, it should last for
20, 30,
years,
yeah,
right?
more even, because it's a natural beach restoration project, meaning the waves pull the material out, push them in.
Great. Okay, thank you. Cool.
Hey, David, just since you have that up there, see the restored beach on the right side?
Right here.
Yeah. Is that the area you were talking about across from the ponds?
It's further down. It's right about in here. I think, there's always high tide, even at low tide, you've got water out there. So it'd be directly across from the pond, the former pond site, where I think a nice platform and launching area would be a good idea out there.
Is there a reason why we couldn't have it closer to where the nice new restored beach area is going to be?
It's going to be restored, but you're still going to have mud flats when the tide is low.
Right. Okay, so you're saying further down.
Further down,
Gonna
It
be
wants
deeper.
water depth.
Okay.
water
Got it,
depth,
got it.
yep.
I mean, per those pictures in the late mail, I don't know if you saw, there were all those people standing on that shallow mud. So I don't know the exact how
Yeah.
the mud is distributed, but that would be tough if we have people going out, especially people don't look at the tides. They go out and then they come back and get stuck in the mud.
Mhm.
I've been in that situation, I think.
There's a guy who drove a car out there.
Car.
Yeah,
Onto the mud.
yeah, he get towed out. Yes, yeah, it happened. But just of note, this is not on the agenda.
Okay, so let's go to public comment. Any public comment?
On the
We have one
D-2.
online
on D-2.
on D-2. Yes, we have Linda.
Okay.
Hi, thank you guys so much for all the work that you're doing on all of these really important topics. Just wanted to, like you were saying earlier about not letting, perfect be the enemy of good, just hoping that plans start moving forward. Like there's been so much public comment and feedback, and the post committee's done such a great job doing interviews of Del Mar and everybody. And so it would just be so great for RHA to hear some input that, to kind of move forward with the ideas that have been so popular, such as basketball. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Any other comments?
I see none.
Okay. Great. Let's move on to D-3. There's no update on this, so we could
Well,
actually.
hold on.
Oh, wait, there is?
Well, I think there's new pickleball courts at Del Mar.
Oh, okay. Chuck will give an update. on-
Well, I mean, the school district, which controls the courts there, with the direction from the ranch, actually there's a set of pickleball courts at Del Mar. So,
Yep.
Tennis courts? Yes, sir. Yes.
They painted lines.
When did that? Good. I don't know. Sometime in the past couple months.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, way.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it was the ranch and the school district. They control those assets. So, kudos to things moving forward.
Successful subdivision.
I guess so. We have to do public comments. Any public comments? Anything online?
I see none.
Okay. All right, let's move on to D-4. I guess we had a pretty extensive discussion on this already.
Yeah.
So should we move on?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. D-5, Public Swimming Pool Subcommittee.
No update here, unless you've got anything more.
Been too cold lately for.
Yeah.
My only question on this subcommittee is there a point where, because I think the conclusion we got to is we're going to provide information, whether it's the town website or other ways, to let the community know how to access swimming pool amenities and programs. Is there kind of more for the committee to do, or is there a natural kind of
And
time to kind of end
yeah.
the subcommittee? Is my
yeah,
question.
I'll say two things on that. One, we might want to add an action item for next time or I don't know if we need to ask the town to staff someone to do that. So just if somebody, I don't think it requires budget, but if someone can just go on their website and put that information together, I'm happy to share whatever I've gathered. And
Oh, absolutely. So if you want to forward that over to me, we have a management analyst that updates our.
there you go.
Send that to me and we'll update.
Okay.
She'll work with her supervisor and
Sure.
they'll make sure the
We
website.
don't even need an action item on that one, but yes, we should do that. And then And then, yeah, number two, I think just as a reminder for everyone, where it stands is town council has been pretty clear that there's at least one, possibly more town council members who would support a full-blown building project of a pool. There's currently not the votes on the town council to do that. And so I think the guidance back to us is we're not going to be building a pool until the town council actually agrees to build a pool. And then there could be more work to do to scope it out. So in the absence of the town council wanting to build an actual pool, I think we've got that information site on all the other options for swimming for Tiburon residents, and give people other ideas. So I think that's yeah.
If my memory serves me correctly, David, question: don't the subcommittees just extinguish after 6 months? Do we have to actively wind them down? Like, do we have to make a motion to end a subcommittee, or don't they?
Usually when we form them, they have a sunset period. In the past, we have made a motion to dissolve.
Yeah.
Once work's completed.
Okay.
Should we do that now and in the discussion, or we hold it for an action item on another meeting?
I have to do a action item.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll hopefully by that point have given the
Yeah.
information. So, yeah. Thank you.
So any public comment online?
I see none.
Okay, great. Let's move on to D-6.
We're
Zelensky
considering
Park.
art updates in Zelensky Park. No, just kidding. Do you have anything?
The one thing that we do need to do, and this was my action item, and I neglected to. So those folks that are on the diversity inclusion task force, I knew that a lot of the folks that they work with for events that use Zelensky Park, I need to reach out to you and just would love to just have a good point person. So just be anticipating a call or an outreach from me. Just to see how the use of Zelensky Park is going and how people maybe would like to see things differently since they're primary customers for using that space in our community. That's my only update. Do you have a question, Mike?
One question I had about Zelensky is it was a high priority area to consider an all-inclusive playground, but was the conclusion of the committee's work that it doesn't work for that spot?
Yeah, it would be a good question. That's not a lot of space there for it. And to be in the middle of the green area, sure, but then you wouldn't be able to use it for anything else where the lawn is. And then to do it further toward the marsh, it would be difficult with just kids in their proximity to water, an open body of water. So that would be a challenge. And I think really it would be waiting to see if there's any other changes with the development of the parking lot next to town and other buildings that may be going in and seeing if that reality changes. So at a minimum, what I'd like to do is just to see what other improvements could be done to Zelensky Park by those current inhabitants. And I think for looking for an all-inclusive play structure, I think in the comments that I've heard from, at least anecdotally from members of the community, is that doesn't have a lot of space either. And talking to actually a developer for play structure, that it'd be just pretty tight fit there. And it's just not optimal. It's near parking. It's great. It's a great location if there's just a little bit, there was an acre more of space. So any other questions?
One thought I had was, and I don't know if this kind of falls within our purview or not, but there's a lot of land in those parking lots that are slated for development for housing by the old Bank of America building and some of the other parking lots around town. My question, I guess, is in connection with those kinds of developments being built, I've seen in other cities and towns that there may be some sort of town accommodations, like, if you're going to build this, we want to have a park here or a playground built.
I think it's a
or
great idea.
something like that. I guess the question is, should Post be looking into that, or And maybe David, you have some insights, but like, it'd be nice to know if that's really a possibility and if we should be more focused on those discussions that are happening with town and the developers, to see if there are opportunities for Tiburon to have more park space or playground space or other things that we could do for the town.
No, I do see that. I've seen that in other municipalities that I've been at where, you know, when these applications come in, it's a condition of approval that the departments put in there. So Public Works can say, you know, would like to require play areas. But again, I don't know the enforcement or if it can be enforced, how, you know, how that works on that end. But that is something that we can ask for as a department.
I like the idea, Mike, though, at least doing the research, right? To say like and it's pretty easy to do it's easier now to do the research over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea, but yeah, the keys would be owned by planning commission and the town council.
Right.
On the requirements, because that's a lot of how the Tiburon open space got created. Is somebody acquired different parcels and they said, okay, to do this, we wanted to develop this land, and they're like, fine, give us that parcel. So if you see all the different names of the open space parcels, it's all these different like developer names that's where they got donated to the town, because mostly it's because they're undevelopable spaces based on grade and things like that and hydrology. So, but yeah, I think it's worth it. I'm happy to, or Tim's happy to do that work. One of us will do that work. And we'll report back in the next meeting.
All right, any public comments on D6 Zielinski Park improvements?
I see none online.
Thing online, okay. Let's move on to D7, Old Rail Trail, bicycle and pedestrian safety.
So Mike and I have not had a chance to walk the trail. I did ride the trail though. And I do have I have a question on one piece, but we do have somebody from the police department that's been identified as a lead for us to work with to get feedback. I'd also like to maybe suggest that we put, and this is just something I heard as well, is that many members of the community may go like, oh, there's this one area that's always been a safety concern for mine, and Mike and I may not know that. So I think it'd be really beneficial, and maybe again working with the town staff on the park website, is maybe to put in like a link to a Google form so that people can just write comments on like this area and here's where there's a challenge. Because I would write that I was coming on my bicycle at the area that's split, where there's not, the construction is over between near the library, where it splits, and there's these two women that were walking side by side, and I was like, oh, I can't get by. I'm going to go up on the wrong way. I was that person.
You were headed southbound.
I was going southbound, and there was actually somebody coming toward me. I was like, oh, sorry, dude, my bad. Because I was coming at him in a head-on collision. So I think that's be one area, is like how those improvements are done. So I do have a question for David, is the improvements in that area, as well as at San Rafael Boulevard, and Tiburon Boulevard, San Rafael, and Tiburon, if there's a way that we can review what you guys are suggesting. I haven't seen anything on those, but I think that would be great for our subcommittee to be able to look through those as well in advance.
Absolutely. So right now we have a draft report that the advisory committee is reviewing.
The advisory committee?
Yeah. We have an advisory committee for those two locations. It's part of the traffic study. Yeah, it's included in the traffic study.
Included in the traffic study.
Yes.
Oh, didn't know that.
So we're reviewing those. We have the report where it's a thorough report. It's close to almost 80 pages for our traffic study report. So the advisory committee is reviewing that, and we are actually going to take that to town council in July. Or in January. And what I can do is bring that here to post once they hear it, and have some comments and have you take a look at it.
For those two areas.
For those two areas
Right.
only, yes.
So, I don't know, Mike, anything else you want to add?
I think that's pretty good. I mean, I walk it like 2, 3 times a week. So definitely walked it. We can talk about some of the
We didn't walk it together.
walk it together. Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of my safety concerns is on the other side in the parking lot. I've seen some near misses of, I do wonder why we don't just have a dedicated, protected pedestrian area in the parking lot versus allowing people, it's just like one more spot there, but it's at great intersection with kids and everyone trying to get in and out. So that's one flag for me. And then another big one is at San Rafael and Tiburon Boulevard. There's a bit of a visibility issue. And so whatever we can do to try to increase visibility so that cars and pedestrians can see each other headed southbound on Tiburon Boulevard there, approaching the San Rafael light.
Yep. Both of those are in that study. Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great, great. There's a lot of hardware there too, right? There's 2 gas pieces and some other stuff. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so we'll have more on in January.
And we could fix it. I think the agenda
Oh,
had it as
sure.
Bernhardt. Yeah. Cool.
Any questions?
Public comment?
No comment online.
Okay. All right. I think that comes to the end of our agenda. So meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Right.